Welcome to another episode of Real Estate AI Flash. Most of the time, every week, we have top producing real estate agents talking about the use of AI, but occasionally we have industry thought leaders, and today is one of those such episodes. We have Jessica Edgerton, so she's going to be on the edge, everything she's going to share with us. She's the Chief Legal Officer and Executive Vice President of Industry and Learning of leading real estate companies of the world. How many agents, Jessica, in the network?
Our umbrella of agents is around 130,000 globally, 565 brokerage member companies.
Amazing. So we're looking forward to diving in with Jessica about legal implications of AI. That's why I think this episode's title is Legal Playbook of AI in Real Estate. And she brings a very unique perspective that I'm going to get into. So welcome to the podcast, Jessica.
It's an honor to be here. I'm really excited. Thank you. It's going to be a good convo.
For sure. Jessica and I have connected earlier in the year. We got added to a large MLS board as board members, and then we started to meet a couple of times, and then you and I connected last month in Dallas at one of our sister companies' agent event. I said, you know what, Jessica would be great on the podcast. You need to get a legal perspective. We did a responsible AI episode early in our podcast journey, Jessica, but so much has changed, and we want to get into that, right?
And it's going to keep changing. So
having some good foundational principles that you apply to yourself are always great. So let's start with, I'd love for the listening audience to get to know Jessica. So give us your backstory and what brought you into real estate and all of that.
Sure. So I've been an attorney for multiple decades. We don't have to say how many. And I started out in the litigation field. I was a fighter. I was a court person, and just started realizing, wow, this is, litigation's really contentious. I don't know if I like all this fighting. Maybe I'm in the wrong industry. And few sort of figure out my my right seat with my legal hat here and there, but ended up actually joining National Association of Realtors as in-house counsel. Was with a national appraisal management firm actually before that. That was really sort of my entree into the industry, and that was in 2007, 2008. So you can imagine that was an interesting ride.
Yeah, for sure.
I joined NAR right after that on the legal team, and left actually just before the lawsuits hit. I joined Leading RE back in 2019, and shortly thereafter, sort of all heck broke loose with the industry. So it's been an interesting ride. I've been now with Leading RE for around 7 years, and really love it. It's a great company.
That's great. And that's the cool thing about having you on the podcast, because you lead a network. You mentioned 130,000 agents, so you can take a step back and see what's going on. And with all the agents, you hear a lot of themes around not just the legal aspect of AI, but also how agents are using AI potentially. So everybody's got their own aha moment with AI, and I would love for the audience to kind of learn about, when was Jessica's aha moment with AI? Oh, it can do that,
It was actually, I hate to admit it, but it was just in the last year when I was working with our marketing department, putting together this gorgeous brochure on buyer representation and the importance of buyer representation, consumer-facing piece. And as part of that, in addition to sort of vetting for the legalities and all of that, I was tasked with putting together sort of an encyclopedia of legal terms that are going to be referenced. And I was like, oh God, this is so painful, and just it feels so boring. And marketing said, Jess, haven't you leaned into AI yet? And I'm like, well, no, I mean, other than doing legal research around how, all the scary aspects of it. And Effie, our head of marketing, said, can you just check it out? Just try it. And I did. And I was like, oh my God. It was like a day of just grunt work that was now, of course, I had to go back through it and check it and review it. And I made tweaks and everything, which is, of course, one of my legal risk management recommendations for today. Anyway, you got to review, you got to touch everything. But it was just amazing. It was like this gross little project that I had to get done, and it got magic, and it was awesome. So I've leaned into it since then. a
Yeah,
number of
that's
times.
great. That's great. And it's interesting you say that. I was asking our CEO said, Rajiv, we need to come up with a scaling AI to the company, a business plan. And I took a certification recently about scaling AI and what are the metrics and things of that nature. So I basically fed all of the PDFs of the coursework into a new tool that has taken people by storm. I don't know if you've heard of this, Notebook LM from Google.
I
Um, I'll
have heard about it.
I'll
Yeah.
share a video with you. You should watch 5 minute video I did. But anyway,
Okay.
so I fed it all my sources, and I said I need you to come up with a two-page executive business plan. Um, and it doesn't go off of the internet. It just goes to your sources and pulls that stuff out. And it gave me something. It was at the 1 yard line. I polished it and clicked send. And it was, I mean, it would take me hours to write something, right? Because some of us are perfectionists. So I think ideation is a great place to start for most people, to your point. So cool. So let's dig in. We got a lawyer on the podcast. You know, so and I always believe this, Jessica, that AI is not a real estate agent. People listening to this podcast are. So when you put something out, you need to have some guardrails, policies that you follow. So the question is, I know you lead a large broker network, a real estate agent network. So how important is it for brokers, obviously for agents under that support those agents, brokers as well, to have AI policies?
Crucial. It's absolutely crucial. And you need to make sure that whatever policy, there are plenty of policies you can sort of pull a template offline, but you need to make sure that it is applicable to your business model, right? And make sure that it touches all elements of, both the input and the output side of AI, because there are risks on both sides. So make sure that their guardrails are on what technology is being used. AI technology is allowed to be used, where it is allowed to be used, and one of the places that's sort of one of my wake me up at night places is the confidentiality and the privacy stuff. So if you be careful with your input, regardless of what your platform is, because sure there are plenty of internal programs that just
Yeah,
pull from internal, but you still have to understand, especially if you're a global company. It depends on, are you inputting, and is there a possibility of accidentally inputting PII and
yeah,
other confidential information? And good heavens, be careful with what you're inputting if you are on one of the big public chat GPTs, et cetera, because all of that data is getting pulled in. So you need to have very clear policies. And just basic reminder, you can have the policies and that doesn't do diddly squat if you're not actively educating your folks on it. And also because this is such a moving, changing landscape, what is a good policy today may not be a good policy tomorrow. So of all of your policies, if you have sort of an annual audit cadence for your policies, I would say increase that. Maybe quarterly policy reviews just to double check that there don't need to be updates, depending on where the AI landscape sits 4 months from
yeah. And you make such a good point. There's two parts, right? One is most of us are using public AI services.
now.
You mentioned ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Copilot. Pick your poison. But they're all public, so you want to make sure not PII confidentiality, and then also communication. Make people aware. Everybody's got policies, but most people aren't even aware of the policy. So I think educating front and center, refreshing, that's great takeaways. And it doesn't have to be a complex manual,
Yeah.
right?
Ooh,
It can be like a short 2 to 3 page, simple, understandable. Maybe you can use AI to write it as an eighth grade level policy,
hey, how very
right?
meta. Yes.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we have a two page policy that is very easy to
Yeah.
understand, digest. So it's easy to
And
communicate well.
and truly, like, just make sure that you're hitting what is allowed to be input, and then also how people are using the output. And again, make sure that whatever that output is, have that human touch. I know you've talked on this podcast about the hallucinations, and
Yeah,
there's, I mean, especially with the ones that are scared, just really have sort of big, massive public data that they're working from. They're racist, they're crazy, they're hallucinatory. So you have to make sure that you have that human touch review built into your policies as well.
100%. Good point. So, before AI and even with AI, our industry is get scams with wire fraud, land fraud, and I feel like one of the biggest things that's personally biggest concern I have with AI is you have to work a lot harder to earn people's trust because people don't know if it's real or AI. So how do you foresee scammers utilizing AI to improve their success rate, and what can we do as an industry, agents? How do you kind of learn that piece so you're playing well with these emerging threats?
I mean, unfortunately we don't have to foresee it. We see it, right? It's happening now.
Yeah,
Just in the last few months, there was a story about uh, a title company, I think that was um, had a deep fake interview with someone who is supposedly selling her land. It was a dead person from California, and they deep faked her. It was very obvious, fortunately, and I think remember back in the day when, it was very clearly like the Nigerian prince. Everybody was like, really? People are being fooled by this. There is that going on right now with AI. It's like, okay,
great analogy.
this is a bad video that's trying to scam you right now. But we have to be aware that that is going to change rapidly. And it's going to get better and better. And by the way, now that Nigerian prince sounds extremely convincing because of AI.
Yeah,
All of those scammers are using AI to generate incredibly compelling um, notes from your CFO, voice, voice deep fakes. There's countless stories right now. So in terms of how to handle it, I would say make sure that you are questioning everything. Use all of the lessons that we've learned from the wire fraud, the email wire frauds, but now we have to take that to the next level. And confirm via trusted emails, trusted, Zoom sources. If you've got an incoming call or an incoming video invitation or an incoming anything, hearing that person's voice, even seeing that person's face, knowing how they write the emails, it means nothing now. So verify, verify, verify.
yeah, 100%. It's interesting. I mean, I think we're living in a world. Obviously, AI is like growing at an exponential pace. Stuff that we could do with technology is not even fathomable for most people. And I think to your point, the way you can get, if you get skilled with AI, Jessica, I believe that you can catch these things better and hold yourself accountable and kind of have that emerging threat stuff. But for me, most agents are not skilled yet, and we're early in this journey. Obviously, you see that. Recently, you and I were in Dallas, and most people there were just early embracing AI because this is just another technology that's come on place. So the more you can put eyes and verify, to your point, multiple sources before you can divulge any personal information or anything like that, that would be good. So
Oh,
yeah,
and one other note, just because I think it's important on the scammer, chatbots is another place where they're hitting as well.
yeah.
So make sure when you're interacting with a chatbot, that you're aware that that might
And that was
be,
happening pre ChatGPT, like Facebook
yeah.
Messenger bots. I mean, just great point though. So moving on to the FTC appears to be, cracking down on the use of AI to provide professional services, and Operation Comply. I've heard Operation AI Comply. So give us some color on, explain that for the audience. They may not be familiar what that is. On AI generated content and consumer reviews, where are we headed in as a real estate industry, that and how vulnerable we are potentially to such regulatory action?
So I think for right now, the bulk of the FTC's concern and oversight is on companies that are generating AI products, right? A lot of AI based storefronts, the fake testimonial companies, etc. For right now, I think the vulnerabilities are for real estate are in using products that aren't properly vetted or that are potentially not consumer friendly, that are being billed as sort of that the next thing in AI. My particular concern is actually one that was mentioned in the by the FTC and is part of this action, which is on the fake testimonials.
Mm.
So this is something that just feels, because it's a marketing product. It's like, oh my God, I need more testimonials. This feels very sort of in line with something that our industry could be like, this is great. I'm a new agent. I don't have any testimonials. Let's do this. It's a company that's AI, so it's the newest thing. Don't do it. And I think the sanity check for now is if, and this is the sanity check that we've learned from all of the litigation and everything, is this something that is transparent, that is clear, that is honest, that is truthful, and is in the best interest of your consumers? If you are a consumer sitting in the seat being faced with marketing of this nature, does it feel scoogey to you? If it does, yes, that is a legal term. Then you don't want to use it. So be really careful about that. And there's a huge wave of incredibly good, innovative, upstanding companies that are leaning into AI. We have a number in our solutions group portfolio, just wonderful companies. And then there's a bunch of stuff out there that's, if you use it, you're going to get sued. So vet your vendors always, I guess, is sort of my primary advice.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've always believed that technology force like there's a lot of innovation that happens with technology. That's how the world goes around that way. Even with the phone, when it first came out, you could do a lot of bad things with your phone, but you could also do a lot of good things with it, right? AI is in the same category, right? There's a lot of bad things that are going to come up. So the more you're aware of it, and follow guidelines and policies, I think that would be helpful. So I would love for to get off from the legal side of things and focus on your leadership at Leading RE and all the various initiatives at an industry level and also training that you're providing for agents. What are you seeing agents in the Leading RE network? How are they leveraging AI in a responsible way? What are some key themes?
So there's agents and then there's leadership, and I think there's some amazing products sort of on both levels here. From an agency perspective, the marketing tools that are out there are incredible. I mean, your talks on how to lean in with marketing are just so spot on. When we were in Texas, it was just so fun to just hear all of the different ways that you can do it. Um, from a brokerage standpoint, I think there's incredibly powerful ways to increase your bottom line, recruiting and retention. A couple of the companies that have been just amazing to watch are Rechat and
Yeah.
Corded.io. Are you familiar with them?
Yes.
Just being able to mine the data that is within your realm already to ensure that you understand which of your agents might not be, happy right now, that you need to really lean into ensuring that, you can retain your top agents, recruiting tools that are out there, mining, and for agents as well, being able to mine your CRM to know exactly when certain clients that might have been in your system for 8-10 years, you don't remember, you've got sort of automatic Christmas cards going out to them and everything, knowing when, based on AI technology, it's the time to really lean into conversations with them. I mean, that is gold. And
Go.
on the marketing side of stuff, it's not just, okay, this makes my life easier, but it frees you up to be more innovative, to be more in contact with your folks. So I think there's so much out there that folks need to be leaning into, and those three areas are the big ones for me
100%.
right now.
Recently we had a couple of speakers that talked about AI has given me my time back because now you could do the things with clients, invest. And this agent we had, Maxwell Stevens, recently said, I can spend more time with my kid. Like he's got a 2-year-old,
Exactly it. You can
right? I
have
mean,
more life.
yeah, sure. So that's a great segue into. So as we wrap up the podcast, Jessica, I always ask my speakers, yes, a couple of questions. I mean, you have a very interesting purview from your role. You've studied agents that have been very successful on their journey and 130,000 agents. So if you were to start in real estate today, not that you would, yes, but let's say you did, what advice would you give your younger self on that agents listening to the podcast can learn from?
I mean, stay curious. Yeah. Ensure that you're and curious about how, your job, real estate, all the rest of it, but stay curious about your consumers and what they want and what they need. I think, especially in the wake of the lawsuits right now, making sure that your consumers are your North Star is so crucial. And um, so stay in, remember our business, remember what our business is about. It's about helping people achieve their financial and family dreams of homeownership. and lifting folks out of sort of the cycle of rental financial hell into a new generation of home ownership. And right now it's really hard for
Yeah.
consumers out there. So recognize that you are champions, recognize that your mission is so crucial, and recognize too that it's going to keep getting harder. So you need to lean into all of these tools that are at your disposal. If we get complacent and if we stop being curious, you're not gonna you need to look for another industry.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that. I have a weekly newsletter for AI that goes out every Tuesday to agents across the country, and I end with always be curious, right?
So perfect. That's exactly the crux of everything right now.
100%. And I don't know if you watched Ted Lasso. Have you watched Ted
Yes.
Lasso?
Yes.
So there's a iconic movie scene in Ted, or scene in the thing that where he's like shooting darts in the bar, and he's challenged by somebody that says, "Oh, I can beat you on this," and he says, "You never were curious to learn if I ever learned darts." And I spent hours with my dad growing up in dart, and he has an iconic thing about winning the whole thing in the bar. But it's all about always being curious. I mean, that's how, and it not just AI, it's industry, consumers. So it keeps you fresh, you know. So, well, the final question is, all of us have been impacted by either a book or a podcast more than other books or podcasts. There's some books that have just been, very instrumental in my shaping my career, shaping how I think. Is there one such book or podcast that has changed you more than others that agents should read?
I'm dipping into my most recent reads for this one, but I highly recommend it. It was such a great just spark for me in the last few months when I read it. Ozan Varol, Awaken Your Genius. He was a speaker at one of our recent conferences.
Wow.
It is such a great reminder to we tend, especially in our online world, to sort of there's a conformity where our algorithms want us to sort of get complacent and conform. And this book, it more than anything is a reminder to use your elbows, to
Oh
really
yeah.
use your psychological elbows to really get uncomfortable and to break out of the boxes that so much of our world tries to stick us in. So it's a quick read. It's an easy read. I highly recommend.
So I've not read that book. I'm going to add it to my book list. Awaken the Genius, you said?
Awaken Your Genius.
Your
Ozan
Genius.
Varol. He's literally a rocket scientist
Oh,
and
wow.
has a fascinating personal history. And I got to meet him backstage before he went on. He's a lovely human, and he's deeply curious. He's curious, which I think is what makes his book so great.
That's awesome. Great share. I will absolutely get the book and read it. And Jessica, this has been fun. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you
This has been
jumping on.
amazing, Rajiv. Thank you so
No,
much for having
hey,
me.
I share the same opinion of you, and I think the way we're going with AI and the speed at which, I almost feel like I need to have you back on the show every 6 7 months to talk about
I
what's
will hang
happening.
out with you anytime.
Oh, I think the feeling is mutual, Jessica. So safe travels.
Thank you.
And I know
You
you're
too.
traveling all over the place and serving the real estate community at large, and we appreciate you for all the contributions.
Appreciate you
And I look
too.
forward to catching up with you soon.
Thank you. Talk soon.